a sneak peek at what's coming up next.
If somebody asks me to do something, I always outweigh in my head, is it in my best interest to tell them to fuck themselves? Or is it in my interest to just do as they said? Yes, I'm giving in to that person, but more to the point, I'm giving in to me. I'm doing something to help me. I'm focusing on me. Even though it looks like I'm listening to this person and I'm following whatever the fuck they tell me to do, but I'm doing it for me. You started recording, just without saying a word. I'm glad you always check to see if I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm glad. It's so nice of you. As always, welcome to On the Spectrum podcast. My name is Nick.
Unfortunately, my name is Steven.
And so it already sounds like he's in a mood, but he's not usually he's not so much, but it sounds like it. So beyond that, as I always do at the beginning of every episode, which at this point may be one of the factors of what's going on. But as I always say, me and Steve do not presume to be experts in anything whatsoever. We're just two human beings who happen to be on the spectrum, who want to talk about our experience, our journey, our perception about things, as well as just kind of talk about stuff that may or may not be affecting the community. If you hear something that you like, you dislike, you argue with, you want to talk about further, whatnot, please leave a comment on any one of the social media sites, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, Twitter, all of them, whatever they are. There's a ton of them. Write down some stuff, even put a comment on this Spotify episode itself. We will get back to you. We are the ones who personally actually do talk to people on all of those things. So let us know.
Yeah. So today we have a lovely subject to talk about. We're going to talk about being the outsider. We're talking about being left out, social situations. Sometimes maybe you leave yourself out, you know?
Right.
Maybe we're not comfortable going to parties, but being left out, being the butt of the joke. And also going to talk about RSD a little bit and talk about PDA. And I don't mean public displays of affection. So that's where
you had to work that in somewhere, huh?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I figured you would.
Well, when you said PDA, I thought like, I don't know, like a pocket device?
Yeah, like that was the first thing. First time I ever read it on a post from somebody, I immediately thought that. It was like, why are we talking about like Blackberries and shit, right? But no, I figured out what it actually was. So, let's start with the excluded thing, because a lot of folks on the spectrum have tendency to either feel as if they're excluded, actually have been excluded from things. And it's kind of a general thing that if somebody acts slightly different than other folks, they have tendency to be excluded from stuff.
Yeah.
And on that, I thought it might be a good idea for us to talk about that a little bit.
Well, I can tell that you were probably rejected a lot as a child. So,
me, I'm the one. Yeah. And it's true. Quite often. Now, I will say, when it comes to feeling excluded, some of that was my own perception. Some of it was my own perception that I was being excluded because I was able to connect with people later on in life, and they would be like, no, you were asked, you were invited, you could have come, but you just didn't. And that was out of my own sense of feeling as if I would be rejected or that nobody wanted me around. So that was me excluding myself from stuff. And I'm not saying that was predominantly, it was in my own head, or if somebody's listening to this and they're like, Nick, are you telling me that I'm the reason why? What I'm saying with it is there was just moments where people came back to me later on and we had conversations about me feeling that way, or they wondered why I wasn't around a lot. And it was my perception that people didn't want me around.
So I actually got along pretty well with people for the most part as like an acquaintance. I just didn't have a lot of very close friendships.
So you felt as if there wasn't a great connection with people?
Well, I was able to get along with people because I was able to make people laugh and I was funny. And I used humor a lot to kind of, I guess, guard myself.
Yeah. That didn't really come to me until later on in life, actually.
But I got along with a lot of people. I just didn't have any deeper connections or any close friendships.
Or at least the belief that there wasn't a deeper connection.
Not, well, I guess, but I didn't have a lot of close friendships. But I think the exclusion stuff came about more so when I got older, like adolescence.
Okay, so
like teenage years, when people started to form cliques, people were cliquey, and I got along with different cliques and different groups, but I was never really part of a lot of them. Not really part of any of the groups, but they got along with me, I guess. Okay, on a surface level.
Right. Did you ever watch the movie? And it could just be me because I had a tendency to do this a lot. But did you ever watch Breakfast Club and just be like, okay, now I understand how high school works. There are groups you have to get involved in, and so you have to have interest in something they like. Okay, cool. Let me learn a little bit about that subject so I can be in the Breakfast Club and be a part of those groups that are defined.
No.
Okay, so it's just me. So like anytime I watched a high school movie, and I swear to God, I'm not an idiot, but I could be sometimes. I swear to God, every time I watched a high school movie in like teenage years and teenage years, maybe even younger than that, I would immediately be like, oh, okay. So there are groups you have to be a part of, and you should identify in one of those groups. Okay, cool. Now I know what I need to do. And like I actually took them as like guides of how to behave in those situations.
No.
I mean, I still kind of do that to this day as well, but I'll watch like a sitcom or a TV show or something, like something episodic, and just be like, oh, that's how they handled that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, my high school was pretty much like Grease. So.
Everybody danced every now and again.
Yeah, we would just start.
Danced and sing.
We would break out into song.
Yeah. I mean, there was also a part of me while growing up that like really badly wanted to belong, right? And to be accepted. And so like the idea of being, well, to use your Grease example, of being like a T-bird, right? Like was really appealing to me, not to be in a gang or anything, but to be in a group where you're just accepted and you're just part of it. And this group of people cared about you. Because I did always feel excluded from everything, but I don't think a lot of the exclusion that I felt was because of other people. I mean, some of it had to have been because of other people, but I think some of it also was my perception of it too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, I danced ballet for 6 years as a kid. Like, yeah, there was a group of people who accepted me. The people I danced ballet with, which were mostly females.
So how do these experiences tie in with RSD?
So here's what I think. And again, I'm going to reiterate, we are not experts in anything. Here's what I think about it. I think that RSD, rejection sensitive dysphoria, like that rejection sensitive part, right? I think in a lot of ways that yes, there is real rejection that we're feeling from other people. Yes, there is real excluding that people do because we're different. And I also think that there is a level of our own maybe misguided belief, our own perception that we are going to be excluded. And that's where I think the rejection part comes in, the rejection sensitive part comes in, because I think that we build it up in our head that we're going to be rejected. And so because we build it up in our head so much that person's opinion is so important that we pull ourselves away and isolate a great deal because of it. So we become overwhelmed with that fear of being rejected by other people.
Yeah, can it also be a result of people being constantly rejected all the time?
It can. It absolutely, absolutely.
If there are distortions or cognitive distortions, whatever you want to call them,
yeah,
and we're thinking that things are happening or people are acting a certain way, and that maybe we're exaggerating it in our head,
right?
Can't that also be a result of all the negative experiences that you have with people rejecting you or treating you poorly? So then you just assume that other people are going to do that.
Right. I mean, it's a normal human thing to go, if something happened to me 9 out of 10 times, it's most likely going to happen again. I mean, it's not necessarily true, but we're going to draw that conclusion. But I also think that there are, some of those 9 out of 10 times that we automatically assume that we were rejected. I think that some of those times, though, was our perception of being rejected more so than actually being rejected.
So you're just saying it's in my head, Nick?
Not always, but sometimes, yes. Sometimes.
See how it is. You insensitive prick.
Well, but straightforward, it's not just like being rejected like, ooh, no, you stink, I don't want to come near you. But it could also be a sense of feeling rejected because it didn't go favorably. So it could have been a neutral interaction with somebody, but we assume that they just automatically didn't like us and hated us because of who we are.
I would say that
could be.
There's another layer there.
It could be.
The other layer is being deceived by people into thinking that you're accepted.
Yes, I'm right there with you. Yes,
so if you go along your merry life living and thinking that people are accepting you for who you are,
right,
and then you discover that secretly everyone thinks you're an asshole, or secretly everyone thinks you're really weird, or they try to avoid you, or they do try to exclude you, even though maybe you weren't aware of it, but they're trying to exclude you because they think you're weird or something. When you find those things out,
yes,
then it makes you a little bit more skeptical about people's motivations and their behavior. So if somebody is outright rejecting you, or maybe they're not, but you think they are because of these experiences we had where not only have people treated you poorly in the past, but then you find out when you thought people weren't, that they were, or that people had certain thoughts about you weren't aware of. Right. And it makes you kind of paranoid.
Yes, and it would. I agree. Because I've been in the moments where people didn't invite me somewhere because, and as I quote, well, I didn't think you would feel comfortable with it. They were trying to save my feelings, instead of just asking me if I wanted to do it. I've been told that at times. Actually, one time somebody said to me, told me the reason why they all didn't invite me to go somewhere as a group together is because they were worried that I was going to be in a bad fucking mood and they didn't want me to ruin it.
I mean, well, that's probably a legitimate concern.
It's probably actually. By the way, I take a whole lot of onus on the fact that I was a super moody asshole for a really long time. I mean, I was undiagnosed bipolar for a super long time and eventually finding out autism, which does contribute to fucking, social.
I can see somebody who has unchecked bipolar, you might not want to be around them if they're going through a certain
right. Well,
swing.
they didn't know that I was bipolar either, but they knew I had moments where I was depressed and I was a bit of a dick. They also knew that there were moments where I was, at the height of my hypomania, and I always seemed like I was a narcissistic prick because it always seemed like I was saying I know best at all times, even though I knew full well I didn't know best. But I always sounded as if I was a know-it-all, or I was telling everybody they were wrong all the time. And I always know that those were the times where I seemed most egotistical when I was doing my hypomania, when I was at the height of my hypomania episodes. And then when I got depressed, I was a horrible, mean asshole because I wanted everybody to leave me the fuck alone because I was fucking depressed and didn't think anybody liked me anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, and then later in life found out that I had bipolar and I got on meds, and those two things kind of leveled out a little bit, not went away, but leveled. Plus I got older and learned some shit. So, did therapy for a while, learned some shit.
Yeah.
About how I react to things. So,
are you still in therapy now?
No, I haven't been in therapy for 6 years.
Do you think that it would help you?
I think therapy would help everyone always.
Okay.
I think left to our own devices, I think human beings are going to draw the wrong conclusions at times. Just because we don't necessarily have all the information. I mean, in my estimation, human beings are the worst at observing their own behavior.
Well, you can't really observe your own behavior.
That's what I mean by that. But we have tendency of drawing conclusions based on interactions with others without being able to observe our own reactions.
But I think that's mostly based on feelings.
What?
The conclusions that you're drawing, the people draw, they base those conclusions off of their own feelings rather than objective reality, because you can't see how you're behaving all the time.
Right. They're drawing conclusions based on the information they have, opposed to all the information needed. Plus, emotions are irrational to begin with. Like, emotions rarely tell us the truth, in my estimation. They give us, something of a viewpoint, but I don't believe emotions by themselves tell us truth.
Yeah.
I think that our emotions are valid to feel at any given time. So whatever emotion we feel is valid to feel at that time. But I don't think it gives us some insight to who we are as a human being. I don't think it tells us the reality of a situation by any means. I think we need both, an objective reality, an objective truth, facts of the interaction, as well as how we feel. But I think it's on both sides the way we feel, both people.
So you need the facts of life, Nick.
I really do. I need George Clooney and fucking Tootie to show up and fucking tell me the way of the life.
So why don't you explain
a
little bit about what RSD is for people who might not know? What is RADS?
It's not. Well, it really does spell out that, doesn't it?
Not really.
You love calling it RADS, though.
Because RADS reminds me of playing Fallout when you get exposed to radiation.
Right.
The RAD.
Yeah.
Rad,
no, I'm with you on it. Every time you said RADS, that's what I pictured in my head was fucking Fallout
I heard
4.
the little noise in the Fallout games. the Geiger counter sound or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I have rads.
Can you actually pull up the definition just so I don't fuck up the interpretation of it? Oh, excellent. Thank you. So where's the definition?
It's the one that's highlighted.
Oh, excellent. All right. So what it says is, for a definition, for many autistic people, perceived rejection or failure can feel intensely emotionally painful to the point that they struggle to cope with these feelings. The phenomenon is known as rejection sensitive dysphoria. Not all autistic people experience RSD, but those who do may struggle due to these feelings. And I think just about everybody struggles with rejection. But to this degree, I think this is identifying a much greater degree in it. Something I do want to point out that this article that we were looking at says, can you go back up to the top real quick, Steve? Something I do want to point out is it does specify in this that autism is a neurological difference in manifesting as atypical sensory perceptions, behaviors, and social styles. Currently, there is limited peer-reviewed research about RSD and even less about its connection to autism. Most of the time, rejection-sensitive dysphoria that I've been reading about has more to do with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Why did I say that outright? Everybody knows what ADHD is, but I said it outright.
But it seems like there's a lot of anecdotal
connection between the two. Yeah.
And also a lot of people who have ADHD are also autistic.
There is
people who have autistic
there is
ADHD.
A correlation between the two.
Overlap.
Of those two. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure we were saying that about the lack of peer review evidence as of right now. I'm not saying it's not a thing, and I'm not saying that there isn't a connection between it. I just wanted to make sure we specified that there isn't a heck of a lot of
I think
evidence
so.
to
As
connect
this
the two
points
as
out
of right
here,
now. Yes.
So explaining kind of the difference between people struggling with rejection versus the what they're trying to indicate the difference is between what is RSD versus just somebody being upset or hurt by rejection in general. Right. So the difference here, it says complications of RSD for autistic people. Most people do not enjoy being rejected or criticized. However, RSD goes beyond simply disliking rejection. RSD is intensely emotional and can even be physically painful. A desire to avoid this pain and discomfort can lead to increased masking behaviors, putting the autistic person at higher risk for burnout. So I think that one of the key differences is people actually alter their behavior in a sometimes a drastic way just to avoid it.
You mean like me and you becoming funny?
I guess.
And using humor to make sure people might like us?
Sure. Why not?
Well, I mean, it says increased masking behaviors, and me and you trying to learn more about how people behave so we could fit in better. But yet me and you regularly talk about burnouts and fucking meltdowns. I mean, I have meltdowns almost every fucking week.
And you talked about
and I used to, I've told you this before, and I'm sorry to cut you off. It just occurred to me too about masking behaviors. I've told you one of the primary reasons why I've continued to smoke all these years is literally so I can step away from places because I'm getting overwhelmed and I don't want to have to tell anybody, oh, I'm just getting overwhelmed. I want to step away because that's how I hear it in my head. I still feel the ableist belief of that it's a weakness to need to step away because I'm overwhelmed. So I continue to smoke.
Just trade meltdowns for lung cancer. It's fine.
Believe it or not, and that sounds really horrible, but believe it or not, I'm actually more willing to have cancer than I am to admit to people that I'm sensory overload in a given moment. I need to step away.
Nick. I've been smoking for 35 years.
I have actually been smoking for almost 35 years.
Now I smoke through a hole in my neck.
So I've been
Is that
smoking.
Insensitive?
No, I don't think so, because I think you're exactly right to mock that of me, because it is fucking way irrational to fucking believe that it's more okay to get fucking cancer than to admit to people that I'm emotionally and sensory overloaded.
Some people might call that toxic masculinity, Nick.
I don't know if it comes down to masculinity. It might. You might be exactly right. I feel, because it is that idea in my head that I'm weak because I can't withstand what everybody else can withstand. And so I do view it as a weakness in myself. I don't view it as a weakness in anybody else, but I definitely view it as a weakness in myself. And that is very ableist. For the first fucking time, I can actually say I can identify internalized ableism for myself. Wow, I've been reading a lot of stuff about our community because I never would have identified it as being an ableist belief in me. And it's also very not misogynistic because it doesn't represent a standard
I'm
like
saying
for women.
it's toxic masculinity in a way because
I'm saying to myself, I can't
you're
take
afraid
care
of
me.
showing weakness as a man.
I'm willing to accept cancer or the idea of possibly getting cancer opposed to showing some level of perceived weakness to somebody. How? God damn that.
It kind of reminds me of people who would go to great lengths to hide their homosexuality, like closeting themselves.
Yes.
Well, excuse me. Sometimes having a fake sham of a marriage or having fake relationships with women so they could at least pretend to not be gay.
Right. Yeah, cover up the fact so they don't have to deal with the shame of it. Or
maybe that's not the greatest analogy, but that's the first one that came to mind. It's just like people
I think there's
being in the closet. Yeah. So you're kind of closeting your feelings.
Right. Oh my God. I used to avoid talking about my feelings so much. So I would do almost that abusive thing of like making the other person feel like it was their fault. And that ain't right of me. That
manipulative.
Yes. Well, because I was trying to avoid my own for a very, very long time. And that is shitty to do to somebody. And I know that now. But years ago, I tried everything I possibly could to fucking avoid anybody knowing anything real about me.
So
I had things to cover up and try to hide.
I wanted to point out the website that we were quoting from. Yes. It's called verywellmind.com. It's not, I don't know anything about this website. Right. It was just one we pulled up because there's not a lot of information out there about RSD, but a lot of people were talking about it on TikTok and YouTube and other neurodivergent pages. And so people were talking about it and we didn't know too much about it. We read about it on, multiple different places, but we just happened to quote this one in particular because I liked the way that it was phrased and the way that they broke it down. This doesn't have any link to anything that's any studies or anything. It does mention there's not a lot of research on it, but it is written by a doctor. So this particular article.
Yeah.
So, or a clinical psychologist. At least, sorry.
Yeah. She has a PsyD.
What is that?
Well, that still makes her a doctor, by the way.
Isn't this kind of what I was just saying?
What? As in true with all mental health issues, systemic issues such as racism, sexism, homophobia, and oppression contribute to individual experiences, especially individuals of non-men experience RSD more commonly and intensely compared to non-marginalized groups. As such, RSD must be addressed both individual and on a societal level by addressing and dismantling these systems. Yes, agreed. Yes, and that is kind of what you were talking about a bit. Yes. Oh, just so anybody who's listening goes, why in the fuck is he reading this out loud, but not really? I have a hard time without reading out loud. I would have to read it multiple times over to really understand it. But if I read it out loud and I can hear my voice say it or hear Steve say it, I can actually interpret and comprehend it a lot better.
So this here says, how can autistic people cope with RSD? But I think it's interesting because some of the things that they're talking about is how other people can react and respond to you in that situation. Right. It's like if you have a partner, asking them, if you're the person who's autistic, communicating how you're feeling, but also the other person like trying to understand how you feel. Right. But I would think too, and obviously out of the two of us, I don't have any experience when it comes to like therapy or counseling or any of that crap. But
thanks for demeaning that.
Well, I'm just saying in general, but we were talking to somebody the other day about different types of therapies and different types of ways to address people's problems. Right. There's all different types of methods out there, right? Right. But we had talked before about CBT because that's one of the only ones I know anything about. Right. I would think that might actually help with these types of thoughts because if you're thinking those things, then because CBT focuses on like if you're having a certain thought pattern or thinking about certain things, you try to do something in place of that or replace it with something or whatever. So you're feeling this, you do this. Right. Essentially, right?
Yes, that is the simplest way to explain that, yes.
So I'm feeling X. So I'm having these RSD type feelings and I recognize I'm having them. Then I do this.
Right.
Which might include like writing down how you're feeling or maybe talking to your partner about it or something.
Right.
But those types of things might be helpful if you're feeling that way.
Yeah, exactly. Because it helps us dissuade an irrational thought. It helps us dissuade something that is based more on fear, more so than the reality at hand. Because we might hear a rejection from somebody, but it might not actually be a rejection, but we might hear it that way from them. And for us to stop and go, hey, are you saying I'm a bad person? And for them to go, no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying I don't want to hang out today.
Oh, by the way, for people who don't know, CBT means cognitive behavioral therapy, which
which most
a
people
common,
do, but you're right. You should explain it.
It's a common type of
therapy approach. It also, nowadays, it has tendency to encapsulate a fuck ton of other types of therapies under the umbrella of CBT. In fact, most of them fall under CBT as an umbrella name. But there are other types that are inside of it.
My simple way of explaining it was just like you X thought or belief or feeling, you interject something or replace it with something. So
yes, pretty much.
That's my layman's way of describing it, the layman's term. Because
no. I mean, essentially how it works is like something happens, we have a thought, and we have a behavior based on that thought. Or something to that effect. How they all kind of interact with each other.
Yeah,
thoughts,
well, I
feelings,
imagine
and
it would
behavior.
help you think through it.
Yes,
so
and that's the way to do it.
If you're feeling this type of way, you're dealing with rejection, and maybe you start to become aware, maybe I'm overreacting about this, or maybe I'm blowing up a little bit more than I should.
Right.
If you sit down, and your method is, I'm going to write about it. You write a journal entry and you work through your thought process. It helps you to realize that maybe it's not as bad as you thought it was.
Right.
Because you're writing it out, and it gives you a chance to think through it rather than just your gut reaction.
It allows you to get out of your head and not have the emotional state that you're feeling override your logical mind or your rational mind. I don't like calling it a logical mind. Mostly because I believe human beings cannot be completely logical, and yet everybody loves to say logical. Well, let's think about this logically. Fuck you, you're human. You're automatically going to involve fucking emotion into it.
Never.
Fuck you, data.
I would love to be able to process emotion. I'm afraid I'm not equipped to handle that.
You know, I used to identify with characters like that and shit, but like eventually, I don't know, and I don't even like saying it this way, but it's the only way I'm thinking about it. But like eventually I started to accept my bipolar more, and I'm like, nope, fuck, I got a fuck ton of emotion in me.
So the reason I would connect with characters like Data is not because he doesn't have emotions. It was because he had trouble understanding other people's emotions.
Yes. I mean, that's ultimately
because I did have feelings myself, but one, it was hard for me to express my feelings, which would make like Data was trying very hard in, Next Generation to understand human emotions, but also how to express his own feelings, because he didn't have feelings in the traditional sense.
Right.
But he still had like fondness for people and connections with people, but he didn't have the feelings in the same way that other people would have them.
Right.
But so I related to that because for me, it was hard to express my feelings, or still is. And it was hard for me back then to understand other people's feelings, which I'm better at now. But back then, when I related to the character, I also didn't know I was autistic at the time, but I just connected with the character on like, oh, he's having trouble understanding people too. Yeah. And he's a fucking android. So.
Right. I will say that, and I know we've talked about representation before, and I don't want to get into heavy discussion.
Are you trying to say
Data's
autistic?
No. What I'm trying to say by it is like, you actually, to me, gave a great example of what other people can do when it comes to connecting with stuff. Because a lot of the times when I hear people talk about representation, and I believe representation is important, but a lot of the times when I hear them say it, I need to see X of a character that looks like me so I can identify something that looks like me, right? When I've always done exactly the way you just described it, is I look more at the way the person's behaving or being treated by others, and I can identify with that character regardless of what the character looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I've had female characters that I've connected with, or like characters who have different ethnic backgrounds, and maybe the character's an alien. They're not even fucking human. Doesn't matter the physical characteristics of the person necessarily. Sometimes the physical characteristics play a role.
Kind of.
Like I'm not a person of color, but if I was, I might be able to connect with a character who was black more easily because they're more like me in that way. Or like, let's say for me, I'm trying to think of a good example for me physically, but let's say, I'm not very tall. I'm about like average height, right? But if I see a guy in a role who is more my size, I might connect a little bit with that character because of that physical characteristic versus a guy who's 6'6" and, tall, skinny, handsome guy.
Yeah.
Or tall, muscular, handsome guy versus seeing a guy like more like me physically.
Yeah.
So I might be able to connect to the character that way. But as far as the connecting with the personality or connecting with the character on a more emotional level, then I think it's more about the personality. But it doesn't mean the physical stuff isn't important at all.
I don't know. Maybe I'm off base. Maybe I'm delusional in my thinking. Maybe I'm just not seeing the reality to it because I'm a white male and I've always seen a lot of white male characters. Maybe I don't necessarily know this that well, and that's probably a true statement. I mean, that probably is true. I can watch movies, and I'm not going to name any specific movies that I've had this moment with, but there are movies where the cast doesn't look nothing like me in any of the characteristics whatsoever, but there are things about them and their portrayal that I connected with a great deal.
Listen, it's okay. You can tell everyone it's Boys in the Hood.
No, it's not.
I was kidding.
No, it's not. There are characters in that I
By
can
the way, it's a good
identify
movie.
with. It's a wonderful movie. I love it. Actually, I think one of the actors,
I just thought it'd be funny to me in my head if you were like really connected with one of the characters in Boys in the Hood.
Well, actually, I think one of the actors that's in Boys in the Hood, and I could be totally wrong, is also in one of the movies that I actually identify with a great deal. Have you ever seen the movie The Best Man?
I might have. I don't know. I'm not good when it comes to movies.
Yeah. So Taye Diggs is in that. Morris Chestnut, Terrence Howard, and I always forget this other guy's name, even though he's the guy I identify the most with character-wise in it. And everything the dude does, movie and character-wise. Hold on. Harold, and I'm going to mispronounce the shit out of this name. Harold Perrineau, I think is. How do you pronounce that, Steve?
I don't know, Perrineau?
Yeah, I'm going to go with that. But I love this dude as an actor. I think he's wicked good because he was also the narrator in Oz. And if you've never seen Oz, it's about a prison. Awesome. But he's in the Best Man series. He was in both the movies and now the TV. I think he's still in the TV show too.
Never heard of this series.
But I really enjoy these movies and I really connect with Harold's character in it. He's a cool guy. Like, I think he's an awesome guy. I mean,
he's in The Good Doctor?
Yeah. Dude, he's done an amazing amount of shit. Like, he's been in a super amount of stuff. But, like, his character, Taye Diggs' character, being the writer who puts out the book that actually causes a lot of issues in the movie. But the two of their characters identify with a great deal. No, I am not an African-American male. No, I'm not. I've never lived these people's lives. But I just connect with those characters so much. And actually, every character Harold has ever played, and I'm calling him by his first name as if I know the guy, although I would love to meet the guy. Yeah, he was in Matrix too. Like, I love watching this dude act. There is something so real about his emotional reactions and expressions on his face that is just so amazing to me. Oh yeah, he was also in Romeo and Juliet. He played Mercutio, which, by the way, is my favorite version of that character because the monologue that he talks about Queen Mab, I think he did an amazing job at. Sorry, I'm geeking the shit out about this actor, but I really dig this guy as an actor. If I could be an actor half as good as him, I would be totally happy with it. Like, his career is amazing too. He's been acting for a super long period of time. God, it has to be 35 years now that he's been acting, if not maybe a little longer than that. But he's just so good.
All right, so now I know who Nick's celebrity crush is.
One of them, yes. Yeah, cool ass guy. I'd love to meet the dude. Same thing with Taye Diggs, actually, too. Like 90% of the characters I've ever seen Taye Diggs do, I really like his approach to creating a character and articulating it. But anyway, back to that movie. So, like, I actually had this thought about it the other day when I was talking to... I think I was talking to Ian and Allison about representation. I think it was. We were having that conversation, and I always end up bringing up this movie because, like, all four of those guys in the movie, all four of those actors and their characters, there are parts of each one of them I can identify with as behaviors and reactions that I would have in given moments, as well as, like, how they emotionally, respond to things. I can identify a great deal in that. And like, I really like watching that movie a great deal because I connect so well, in my opinion. Granted, it is for African-American males talking their experiences in the world itself. And so, but I connect with them more so than I connect with like there's a movie, what is it called? Four Brothers or something. And it's just four friends, four males, but I connect far better with Best Man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just always kind of have. I'm not 100% sure why that is that I feel as if I can, but.
So would it be fair to say that if you were to meet Harold, you might have a public display of affection?
I think he would be a human being that, because usually I fucking hate hugging people unless I'm fucking dating them or some shit. But he's a dude I'd just be like, oh my God, and I would fucking crush this shit over. I'm not saying in a weird way, but it's probably a weird fucking way to say it. But like, I really dig the guy as an actor.
I was trying to use that as a weird transition into talking about PDA.
PDA, yeah, pathological.
Because this was something that you wanted to talk about that I didn't really know anything about.
Well, you didn't know much about rejection sensitivity either.
Because it's made up. I'm just kidding. I'm saying it's made up because there's not a lot of research for it.
But that doesn't make it necessarily made up.
I'm kidding. Well, it describes a phenomenon that people are experiencing. So a lot of the stuff a lot of the information on it right now is anecdotal because it's based on people's experience.
Right.
And a lot of the way that we react as people who are autistic or ADHD is sometimes a little bit more extreme or intense.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, just about everything we experience is probably far more intense than
and as somebody who supposedly has both, I can definitely say that a lot of the things that we were reading about RSD makes sense to me. I relate to it.
Right.
But I'm just forever a skeptic about everything.
And honestly, in a lot of ways, you should be, because when it comes to psych stuff, I lend a whole lot more credence to it up front, and you're far more skeptical about it. And I actually appreciate that because it forces me to have to think about it. Yeah. Like, how much validity is there in this really? How much is this?
It dates back to my teenage years when I used to argue with my psychologist. I went to see a clinical psychologist and I went to see a psychiatrist who tried to give me medication for bipolar.
I still think you had the worst.
Even though you told me that technically I was not supposed to be diagnosed as bipolar as a teenager.
Because we really aren't supposed to be doing, diagnosing kids with that. I mean, there are some people who think we should be able to. It makes sense to me that possibly, but there are other people in the psychology world who don't think you should be able to diagnose bipolar in children.
Nobody noticed the autism, but I was diagnosed with ADD at the time because that's what it was called, and manic depressive. But anyway, the point was that I was very skeptical of my psychologist.
Well, you should be. I think you had a fucking horrible psychologist.
And I was like, listen, I know what you're trying to do. Yeah. I was 16 years old. I was such an asshole. 15, 16 years old. I went in there and I'm like, listen, I know you're asking me these questions. You're trying to figure out what's going on with me. I get it. But don't act like you care about me. You don't. Okay? I know you're here to make money.
Wait, right there, though. How do you know he doesn't care? I mean, he went into a line of work all about helping people.
He doesn't know me.
Get along in life.
You care about somebody you don't know. I'm like some kid he's talking to.
Well, hold on. That's not true. There are people in this world who give a shit about all living human beings.
I'm just saying I'm very skeptical of people who pretend to show interest in me.
How do you know he was pretending? Maybe he gave a shit.
It's your job to show interest in me and ask me questions.
His job is to talk to you. He doesn't actually have to give a shit about you.
But I can understand why a lot of my behaviors at the time, why someone would think that I was manic depressive, whether I am or was or weren't, whatever. But I could see why based on my behavior because of the things that I did and the way that I acted.
Yeah.
And me going through long bouts of up and down all the time. So
I still think you had a fucking shitty fucking therapist. I really do. Based on just stuff you've told me.
I was also a huge dick to him and the psychiatrist.
But that's part of why I think he was kind of a shitty fucking therapist, because even if your patient is being a dick to you,
I wasn't like that as an mean to him. Connect. I was just cynical.
Right.
Like I wasn't being an asshole to him personally.
Resistance, right? Hesitation.
I was cynical. I didn't believe anything he was saying. I thought he was full of shit.
Yep.
I also went to a counselor or therapist for anger management.
Yeah.
Because when I was in middle school, I used to get into a lot of fights, which I don't think said anything about me being an aggressive person, because I'm not. It was more so people used to attack me quite a bit because I was a new kid. I transferred schools. You know how it is. You're in middle school. if you transfer to a new school and you're the new kid, everyone picks on you.
Yes.
So I used to lash out when people would give me shit. I would give them shit back. And then it used to lead into a lot of fights because somebody would make fun of me and I would be able to make fun of them 10 times better because let's face it, I'm much better at insulting people. I'm much better at making fun of them and hitting them where it hurts and making them.
Yeah.
So I would piss people off because they would say shit to me to try to upset me and I would get mad and then I would say something that would really hurt their feelings and then they would come up after class and try to punch me in the face. So
you would dig deep.
Right. So then I used to get into a lot of fights. And then they made me go to anger management because I got into so many fights. But I'm like, listen, I'm not the one starting these things. People are starting fights with me because they're picking on me. And then when I defend myself, they get upset because I'm mad that they would make fun of me and few people would laugh. And then I would make fun of them. And then the whole class would fucking laugh at them because mine was way funnier.
And they would feel embarrassed as shit. So they tried to beat the shit out of you.
Eventually they stopped picking on me because they realized that I was better at it.
Yes.
So, but yeah, they made me go to anger management therapy. And I was kind of a cynical asshole there too.
Yeah, me too.
I had to go to therapy when my parents got divorced. It's part of the divorce process. They forced the kids to go to some type of therapy for like separation or some shit.
That was one of the reasons I thought I was going to therapy when I was a teenager.
Well, so what was funny is I actually have the papers for this somewhere because I have a folder somewhere with papers from when I was in middle school and high school. I have like a just shit that I never threw out. Yeah. I don't know where it is. I'd have to go look for it. But my parents separated when I was like 10, but they didn't actually get divorced until I was like, I want to say I was 14. So they'd already been separated for like 4 or 5 years before we got before they actually got divorced legally. And so when I went to the therapy, the whole class, the way that, well, it was a group therapy thing, but the way the group therapy is set up or counseling, whatever the fuck it is. It was a group. The way it's set up, they're treating the kids as though this is new or as if it's a fresh scar for them.
Right.
But for me, I'm like,
trauma.
This is old news to me.
Right.
So the whole time I didn't take any of it seriously. And of course I was a teenager and I was a little dickhead at the time. So I just made a joke of the whole class. So instead of doing all the exercises they wanted me to do seriously, I turned it into jokes. Like they had these coloring activities and there's a guy and he has his hand out like this. And it looks like he's yelling or something. But his hand's down towards his waist. And there's a picture of like a woman, presumably his wife, and like a little kid standing next to it. And it's like they want you to fill in the speech bubble as to what he's saying. And I understand the point of the exercise, but I put in like, would you look at this belt? I can't believe I wore this with these pants or something like that. Yeah,
that's what you wrote. Yeah, that's it. That's what you wrote.
Because his hand was near his waist.
Yeah, that's what you wrote. Yeah.
And then I had the wife reply back and be like, I can't be with a man with such a horrible sense of style or something like that.
Yeah, that's what you wrote. Yeah. There's no way you were like, look at this. Do you think it's good enough? And she's like, nope, too small.
I didn't write anything like that.
Yeah, okay.
He was pointing at his belt.
Yeah, that's
but
it.
I have these papers somewhere because for some reason
you still have them?
I saved them because I thought it was funny.
Because you're a hoarder.
All of the work they made us do in that therapy class, it was a lot of it was like filling in bubbles and talking about our feelings. Right. But I made a joke out of everything.
Well, of course you did. Dude, didn't we just talk about before possibly the reason why me and you got into doing comedy as much and use that as a way to deflect from the way we actually felt?
Yes,
right
so I mean, there probably
emotional.
There was some trauma when my parents split, but that was 4 or 5 years beforehand. So at that point, I was like, maybe there were still some feelings for me to work through, possibly, but I didn't care at that point.
No, I mean, you were also a teenager too.
Yeah,
which also leads
when I was 10 years old, I was really upset about them splitting up. But like that time I was 14, I was like, I was used to it.
Right.
You know, I was seeing my dad on the weekends, spending time with my mom during the week. And they made us go to this therapy. And like I said, it seemed like the therapy was aimed towards people who this was something new.
Right.
And like, so what do you do for the kids whose parents have been separated for a long time and they're going to this?
Well, just like anything, if you carry it with you long enough, people just kind of go, meh.
Well, it's court ordered anyway. So it's not like it was the court forces the kids to go through it, as far as what I understand.
Oh, no. I never got forced to.
Oh, well,
my mom just thought it was a good idea.
Maybe this is a Massachusetts thing.
She thought I was having issues with it.
Well, it could be a Massachusetts thing, or maybe it's up to the judge's discretion.
It could be. I mean, I grew up in Connecticut, so I don't know.
All I know is that in our case, it was a court order.
Yeah.
So the judge made my sister and I go into this therapy.
Okay.
As part of the divorce proceedings, as family court. I don't know anything about family court, but I would assume it's either maybe standard practice in Massachusetts, either part of the laws.
Yeah.
or it's just standard practice, or maybe it's up to the judge's discretion. But
Right.
either way, the judge made us do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that actually, being a teenager and your reaction to that kind of does lead into the other thing, PDA, pathological demand avoidance, or the way I just read it when we were looking it up before the episode, extreme demand avoidance.
Pathological
Demand avoidance.
public displays of affection.
Yes, that's it. What I will say on it is it sounds very similar to that because what I've read thus far, and again, this is another thing that has a lot of anecdotal story behind it. Basically, when I say anecdotal, I'm not dismissing it, by the way. We're just saying that a bunch of people are talking about it, and giving their experience for what they feel it is. So when it comes to pathological demand avoidance, from what I understand about it, is it's basically people avoiding when people or their own expectation of having a demand put on them. Meaning like, I have to X, that feeling of I have to do something, and people just immediately trying to push away from it, or at least from what I understand.
But from what so after I looked into it after you brought it up to me, because you said that I have a lot of these traits according to you.
It seems like it.
But most of the
observational.
information about it is geared towards kids.
Right.
Like
both
when you
of
look
these
at,
are mostly geared towards kids.
If you look at when you read it, it's like the questionnaires are geared towards kids.
Yes.
The research is geared towards kids. Everything is about like kids exhibiting these symptoms.
Right. But here's the thing. If something doesn't get addressed in childhood, it doesn't go away.
Well, also, I would like, it's probably much more intense in the child, because I know when I was looking up, why don't you explain what someone with or a child with PDA would act like, or what they would do? Because somebody listening might not know what the hell we're talking about.
What, for PDA?
Yeah.
Can you give me a definition? I'll just read the damn thing.
No, I'm not asking for a definition. I'm asking for examples of behavior. I'm saying what they would do. So, because for me, if I was listening right now, and you just come with the definition, well, what does that actually mean?
Okay.
Like, I understand what your definition is, but I need real life examples.
Yeah, well, that's why I was asking for the definition, so I could read it and then give you an example. But here, let me try my best to do it. And if I misinterpret this, fuck it, I'm not an expert. So what this would look like in a kid is what most people would consider normal child behavior.
Defiant.
Okay. Yeah, being defiant. Like ODD would be like the American diagnostic version of this and shit. Okay. Oppositional defiance disorder, right? We identify that when a kid's just like, fuck you, too often to something, we fucking put a label on it. That's what this seems like to me a great deal is basically when you're putting too many demands, or when you're putting demands on somebody or saying they have to do something and they just go, fuck it. And
but the difference is with this is it's because of autism rather than what other reasons kids might be defiant.
Right.
This is because of their autism.
It's pathological. So it's built-in process to avoid.
Kids who are autistic or people who are on the spectrum in general are typically inflexible in their behavior, right? They have patterns. They have certain things they like to do. They like to stim. They like to script. They like to do certain things. And if you interrupt what it is they're doing, or ask them to do something that they don't want to do at the time, it's difficult for them to switch, right?
Yes.
So it's why they may be more defiant and say like, "Fuck you, I don't want to do that," because
right. Well, like as adults, from what I understand, this represents kind of like. When people avoid doing laundry, getting their oil changed, stuff like that, things that are beneficial to them, but because they feel like they have to. So it's a self-imposed demand.
Yeah.
And I can relate to this a great, great deal because I've always been referred to as being lazy, procrastinate, all of those kind of things. And it might look like that from an outside perspective, but in a whole lot of ways, I literally forget to do some of this crap. And I think the reason why I forget to do a lot of this stuff, even when I have an alarm go off and I set an alarm on my phone that says, hey, dude, do laundry, I'll still forget because I'll immediately hit the button to turn off the alarm, set down my phone, and it just completely
But
goes.
what is the...
And I think some of it has to do with because of that sensation, that feeling, that thought process of I have to do it. Now,
you don't like obligations?
No, I don't. I have a great deal of resistance when somebody says you have to. And that's as far as it goes. Like if somebody says you have to dress a certain way, my first reaction is fuck you, I don't have to do shit. Like that's my first thought process. That's my emotional reaction to it. And
it's kind of funny because when I did that assessment for work, they gave me that it's basically like a personality test, but that's personality test based towards I forget what the style is that I took, but it's
DISC, if I remember.
Yeah, it's
correctly.
like a DISC assessment. Yeah. But when they had like a 30 or 40 page thing describing all of my
Yeah, you read some of it too.
But it was funny because one of the things they pointed out in there is that if you're going to question me,
yes,
or you're going to undermine, or you're going to bring a problem to me, if you're going to question me, you have to have stuff to back it up.
Yes.
So you can't just come to me and say, "Oh, you can't do this," or "I don't want you to do this." You have to give me a good reason.
Right. So basically, you have to prove. People have to prove to you why you should listen to them.
Yeah,
I agree, and I'm the same way. Here's one thing that I will say that I have done in my life that I feel has helped me a great deal with this, and it was to come to an understanding that there is only a couple things in life we actually have to do. Coming to this understanding that we only have to, and I know there's a couple more than what I'm about to say. I've
breathe
had 100 people tell me, it's breathe, sleep, and shit. And that's it. Yes, there are other fucking things, right? I always used to say eat, sleep, and shit is all you gotta fucking do, because, and I always rationalize it this way. Whether you put food in your mouth to eat or not, your body will eat itself to fucking keep it alive, right? So you can't avoid eating and drinking something. Your body's going to deteriorate its fucking self to keep it alive. Sleep. Try to avoid sleep. You will eventually go to sleep, whether you want to or not. Eventually you will, right? Maybe it's a week and a half later and you've already lost your mind and fucking hallucinate, but your body will still shut down and you will fucking sleep, right? And then shitting. Go ahead, try to avoid fucking, eliminating waste from your body. Your body will fucking do it one way or the other. Regardless of what you want out of it.
That's why I wear a diaper.
That's right. So in my estimation, outside of that, there is nothing else in life you have to do. Some people say you have to pay taxes, you have to pay your rent, you have to go to work. No, you don't.
You don't have to do anything as long as you're prepared to deal with the consequences of not doing it.
That's the other side of this, is when I came to that understanding that everything is my choice. Thank you, Dr. Glasser. When you look at things more of the sense of I have a choice in the matter, I have a choice in everything I do, then you get to decide for you what is in your best interest. In that, if somebody asks me to do something, I always outweigh in my head, is it in my best interest to tell them to fuck themselves? Or is it in my interest to just do as they said? Yes, I'm giving in to that person, but more to the point, I'm giving in to me. I'm doing something to help me. I'm focusing on me. Even though it looks like I'm listening to this person and I'm following whatever the fuck they tell me to do, but I'm doing it for me. And maybe that's something that everybody does up front, and it took me a while to come to that understanding. But I had to change, I had to reframe, I had to, alter the way in which I was perceiving the way they were asking me to do it. And things got not only easier for me, because there was less arguments and less people thinking I was just a defiant cunt, asshole. It kind of came to a point where it got easier for me to evaluate for me that I was doing well in life, that I was doing better at things in my life, because I was no longer saying fuck you up front, and I was looking at it more of how does this benefit me?
Well, so I've always been very skeptical of authority figures,
Yes.
I was defiant with my psychiatrist, like I mentioned, my psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
I was defiant to them because they were authority figures. I was defiant of my principal, my teachers. And part of my problem was, yes, maybe I have a problem with government. I have a problem with authority in general.
Even perceived authority, by the way. And I've got a story to tell.
I also have, there are a lot of things that have contributed to these feelings that I have, because I've been so often let down by people in positions of power and positions of authority, who have reinforced my skepticism and my cynical thoughts. Because I have people, let's say I work for a company and I've had bosses who have tried to go along with what they want. I've tried to, but then at some point, because it usually doesn't happen with me right away sometimes, especially if I like the boss or I like the person, I'll listen to what they're saying. But at some point or another, if I come to a conclusion and I'm like, wait a minute, we're struggling in this area, or this is the goal the company has. And then I realize, okay, I think through a process and I figure out maybe we should be doing this.
Right.
Now, one of two things happen. A lot of times I've worked for bosses that will just understand that I have a good idea and will try it.
Yeah.
And then I have bosses who will fight me every step of the way, even though I'm trying to present my thoughts to them.
Yeah. Okay.
And I get frustrated with being right, but not being
listened to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm like,
well, because if I'm right, I'm right. Then
a lot
they
of
should just do
times,
it.
a lot of times they'll end up doing what I said anyway.
Sure.
And maybe even not giving me credit for it, even though they use my idea.
Yeah, that's a separate issue, I think.
You know, it's once I left the company already, and then I find out that they're fucking using all the ideas that I had, or I had presented like, this is an idea we have, this is how we can do it, because it's not just about presenting the idea, but it's also the how, like how are we going to do it?
How we implement.
So here's an idea, and here's how to do it.
Right.
Because that's another thing I learned over time was it's not just enough to have the idea, you have to have a practical way of doing it or a way that it's feasible to do it.
You got to have a way to set it up.
So I get frustrated with that stuff, dealing with
Can I ask
people who are incompetent. At least to me, I feel like they're incompetent, or people who are, I feel, okay, I'm just talking feelings here.
Yes.
I feel like they're fucking morons.
Yes. And we're talking feelings, and I appreciate the fact that you specified it. Let me ask you a question on this, though. Okay. Because I started to get this thought when you were describing all of this. Could this also be a self-justifying belief because you're already skeptical up front? You already lump all bosses together. You already lump all authority or perceived authority figures together, right? And it's kind of that generalization about bosses, right? Could it be self-justifying that you automatically go?
I think it's a mix of both. I think it's and part of it is.
The reason why I bring this up.
Part of it is I have a bias, or I have a natural inclination to be skeptical or to not like people in authority. But at the same time, there's also a lot of incompetent people in positions of power. There's also a lot of people.
There's a lot of incompetent people. Period.
That's right.
Can we be honest about that? It's not just
right, but we're not talking about people in general. We're talking about people in power.
Yeah, but those are human beings that are there. So no shit. If in the general populace people are fucking stupid and
it's also
about
it's not just incompetent.
Well,
it's not just incompetent. It's also
how they're incompetent.
Sometimes, and also some of the ethical concerns. Like I get
agreed
frustrated with a lot of people in high positions of power in companies I worked for, or even people in government who do unethical shit. And because that's something that's important to me, is trying to be honest and ethical.
Right.
It doesn't mean that I'm perfect, that I always make the right choices, but I try to take that into consideration.
Yeah, we try.
But I see people that I work for, like flat out just disregard that stuff on purpose.
Well, I got you.
They don't give a shit. They don't care who they hurt in the process.
Or at least it seems like they don't care who they hurt.
Told me, I don't care. Fuck them.
Yeah. That doesn't mean they actually don't care. That's just what they're saying. I have this whole thing of like, you can believe when somebody says something, you can believe mostly that they're telling the truth, but there's always more to it. I always believe that. The reason why I'm asking that about that self-justifying thing. And here's my story, because I said before I got a little bit of a story. Okay. So in the comedy group that we're in, the improv group that we're in, I'm the host of our improv show itself. And a lot of the times I have tendency to, and I'm going to air quote this shit, quote unquote, lead rehearsals and the group. Okay. It kind of just defaulted to me in such a way, whatnot. But me and Steve have had a bit of tension at times. And you've even expressed that you felt as if either it was I was acting like, or you felt like I was acting like, or you felt as if I was the boss. And you defined me that way as boss, right? And we talked about it and we good. I am not, and we've talked about that. Like, I'm not anybody's boss in that way. Like, even when I'm at my job and I'm a clinical supervisor, like, I'm not anybody's boss, right? I'm just there to help maintain and delegate certain things and kind of keep order in certain ways. I'm not a boss, right? But it was that kind of push from you of being a boss when you identified me that way. Could this have something to do with that? That feeling of authority and the way you already identify authority and your skepticalness of authority figures and your experiences with previous bosses. Could that be why there was a bit of tension?
It probably stems back further than that too, but
hold on, dude. I gotta fucking do this. Holy shit. I'm so sorry.
You need to keep the mic a little closer to your face too. It
Well,
doesn't
I
have to
was-
be like right in your mouth.
Yeah, but I was
like,
hearing myself just fine.
there's a few times where you've been sounding like it. It's okay. I
No,
can fix some of it.
no, that's all right. Because I had to fix this because the entire fucking time I've been like preoccupied because it wasn't right on the edge.
Doesn't matter.
okay?
Anyway, I can fix
sorry.
some of the levels in post.
Yeah,
But anyway,
sorry. Yeah.
sorry.
Everybody.
I think it probably stems back further than that. But these are things that I haven't thought about in, probably since I was a teenager.
Yeah.
But I think I also had a lot of bad experiences going back to even elementary school.
Okay.
With teachers and principals and other people who were authority figures at the time. And I always felt like a lot of things were unfair, unjustified.
Mm-hmm.
And I was treated poorly in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
I didn't fully understand the reasons for it at the time, obviously, because I was a little kid. But it's probably why I have some of this skepticism, is because I've met a lot of people who seemed like they shouldn't be doing what they were doing. And even being an 8-year-old kid, I felt like sometimes that I knew better than what the authority figures were doing.
So did I. I felt that way too. Let me ask you a question on that, because you're right, I had to get further away from the mic. Me and you are, I can say this in negative terminology, and I'm trying my best to not use negative terms when I say this. Me and you are really good at analyzing, evaluating, and providing constructive feedback to people. In negative ways of saying it, we seem kind of judgy and critical of other people's behavior a lot.
It can be,
Could that be the same thing?
It's easy for me to pick out flaws and things, and it's not like I do it on purpose. But
I don't either, but
if I see something and I see a project and let's say 70% of it is good,
the
70%, I'm like, okay, that's fine. But then I focus on the 20-30% because that's what's going to ruin it.
Right.
So
or potentially.
And I don't mean to be negative. I want to say to somebody, well, your idea is 70% good and the rest is shit. But it's, if you don't fix the 20% or the 30%, then that 70% doesn't matter.
Potentially.
Well, I'm simplifying things.
I know you are. I'm just taking into account that other 30%
I'm trying to
might make or break
oversimplify
you.
it. But I'm saying you focus on like the areas of concern, because it sticks out to me like a sore thumb, or like
those deficiencies.
It's kind of like when we were talking to Temple and she mentioned like her visual mind, the way she thinks, she's able to pinpoint things that are out of place.
Yes.
That's how it comes to me when people present an idea. Like I have like these little things that go off in my head, like, oh shit. And then I instantly see all the potential problems. I'm
right there with you. I agree. I can see it too. Maybe not to your degree. I don't know. I don't live in your head, but I agree, which is why I compared the two of us in that regard.
People see me as being negative, but it's not that I'm trying to be negative.
Right.
It's just that's what I instantly think of.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe you could say I'm a glass half empty or I'm a pessimist, whatever. But it's just that's how I see the world.
I don't necessarily see it that way because your intent is to help. So I don't think you're necessarily being pessimistic because your intent of pointing that stuff out is always to help.
Well, I also had to go the next step, and instead of just pointing the stuff out, I tried to also offer solutions.
Yes,
which
is kind of the positive, constructive way of doing it.
Well, it's because a lot of people don't know what to do with it. If I just point out what's wrong with it, a lot of people are like, well, what do I do now?
Yes.
So unless they don't want my assistance, if they say not, but I will typically try to offer nowadays, I try to offer a solution to whatever the problem I found.
So once this is in relation to this, once upon a time, somebody said, I didn't ask you for your opinion. And I initially took it as a rejection moment. I offered a bit of criticism, judgment, feedback, analysis of what they were doing. And they said, well, I didn't ask your opinion. And initially when they said it to me, I took that to heart and I was like, fuck, I did something wrong. But then I started to look at what they said and I realized that they're absolutely right. Don't offer until they ask. But at the same time, I started to take that as a way for me to stop people when I didn't want their opinion, when I didn't want to hear what they had to say as feedback. And I actually use it to this day that when somebody goes, man, you know what I think you could do? No, I don't want to know what you think I could do. I'm good where it's at. I have to evaluate for myself if I think I did good enough. And if I'm okay with how good I did, I don't want anybody to tell me how I can do it differently. Now, if
I think it
ask,
depends
on the other hand,
on the situation. Because I think there are some situations where I would give somebody feedback even if they didn't want it.
why? Like, help me understand from your point of view there.
If I'm running a business and you're somebody who works with me.
Yeah, hold on. I'm talking about personal interactions back and forth. I don't mean you're in a supervisor role, because that is actually part of your job, is to provide feedback. So if they're not receptive to it, they should.
Would also be like if we're in a group. So like if we're doing stuff for a comedy group, there are times where we should give each other feedback about things because we're trying to work together.
I still think that's a separate
because
scenario.
stuff that you do is going to affect me too because we're working together on something.
Right. I mean, but I think in the scenario of like the comedy group,
if you're talking about like
me and you,
the way you dress yourself or something, then whatever.
Yeah. Like me and you co-run that group, right? And so it's part of our job is to how do we help the group get better?
But I'm saying in those scenarios, I might give somebody feedback on something they did. Like if your wife did something and I've offered her feedback on certain,
in the comedy group as well.
I've offered her feedback on certain things that she did. And it wasn't like directed towards her personally, but it was something she did. And I'm just like, hey, here's a couple things. Like I tried to give, there's certain things too she just probably doesn't know, just from lacking experience in certain things. Like if she's putting together video clips, like she doesn't have as much experience editing as me. So I might offer her some suggestions for stuff. But that's not like, I'm not trying to be a dick to her, but I wouldn't, if she was making videos for herself, I wouldn't mention it, but she's making videos for us.
Right. And I understand that. And I think that that's a valid point to give criticism at. Oh man, I had a question and I was,
well, that was my point, is that those situations where even if somebody didn't necessarily want to hear it, I might still offer it anyway if we're working on something together.
Yeah. But I think that those two scenarios that you just pointed out, those two differences, I think those are moments where it's not just the expectation, but it's part of the job of working.
Or even if you're in college, in university, and you're working on a project with somebody too.
Yeah,
same thing.
Same idea. Anytime you're working with somebody else and the outcome affects them.
But like if you like to paint,
right?
And I'm like, hey Nick, I think your paintings could be better. Like that's different,
right?
Or if like whatever, your own personal art or something you work on yourself.
And I agree.
Doesn't mean the person doesn't have good feedback. It just means maybe you just don't want to hear it right now.
I agree with you in those situations. The problem comes in is most people think that because they have an idea in their head that they feel is better than the idea somebody else had, they have every right to say it. Well, I'm just trying to be helpful. I don't care if you're being helpful or not. I don't give a shit if you think my pants need to be ironed better or not. That doesn't fucking affect you. I don't want to hear it. And I'm not trying to be defiant to them when I say I didn't ask for your opinion, but it's also a matter of like, it's not everybody's place to critique every fucking thing everybody else is doing. And I'm probably the worst in the fucking world at this because I look at behavior so much and because I focus on behavior as much as I do. I have tendency of analyzing people. And I understand most people would be like, you shouldn't do that to your friends. You know what? It's just part of the way
I think it also depends on...
But I don't always critique their behavior. Sometimes I just ask questions.
Yeah, but I think it also depends on the person who's offering the advice.
Yes.
So for instance...
There's the thing too. And are you going to point out the example with me and you?
Well, I was just going to say what you were talking about. If you're somebody who studies that stuff or knows a lot about it, the other person might not want to hear it. But I guess it's not as bad as like some random Karen trying to tell somebody how they should behave who knows nothing about behavior.
I agree completely.
Or, somebody complaining about somebody's music that they make, but they know nothing about music.
Agreed.
Or like, let's say I play piano and I teach piano and somebody's playing piano and I offer them some advice about playing piano.
Right.
Maybe they didn't want to hear the advice, or I say, hey, if you tried this, it might be easier for you to do whatever on the piano. I actually am coming from a position of expertise.
Right. A position of authority, actually.
It doesn't mean that they have to listen to me, or maybe I should just keep my mouth shut. But at least in those scenarios, like, you actually know what you're talking about versus somebody who is just nosy, or like we have a lot of people in our society who are self-important and just think their opinion's important no matter what, even if they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Can I expand what you just said to a different topic but related? The idea of mansplaining.
Oh God.
Hold on. And I'm not, I completely believe
it just
that,
means man explaining, Nick.
Yeah. I know what the fuck it means, but it's the negative connotation to it. And I do believe that there are a ton of men in this world who put their fucking voices in places they should shut the fuck up. Or they try to explain something to somebody without even knowing if the person actually knows anything about it or not. I agree that that's bad shit and men need to knock that shit off. But there are times, and I've been accused of mansplaining, even though I do know more than that person about a certain subject. And I knew more about that subject than them because I knew the person. And I went to go explain, it was a psych concept, right? And this person is not a psych person. They don't do any reading in it. They don't, none of that shit. And they were asking a question. I was involved in the conversation. So it's not like I butted myself into it. I was involved in the group that was talking about this. And she asked a question. And I immediately started to explain the concept behind what it was.
Was it because you were info dumping, maybe?
Maybe. And so maybe it was exactly that, because I think I was actually info dumping. Dude, I was hypomanic that day. I was like, I was in a manic episode.
Some people might interpret info dumping as mansplaining.
They could. And so in this moment...
Or maybe info dumping is mansplaining sometimes.
It could very well be. So we maybe need to take a second to take that into consideration for those listening.
Like if I have a... sorry, I was thinking like if I'm trying to think of an example that's not offensive or something. But let's say I'm talking to a woman about something to do with power tools and I have a fixation on tools. It doesn't mean she doesn't know anything about tools, but like I get excited because it's my thing and I want to talk about it and I start dumping information. And the person that's listening to me might think that I'm assuming they don't know anything about it, but it's just because it's my interest.
Right. And it's not that you don't think they know something about it. It's because you want to talk about it.
Right. Which is, I've been in situations where people have gotten angry or upset with me because I info dumped.
Yeah.
But it's just because a lot of times I'm quiet. So I'll be in a lot of social situations where I don't say shit for like 3 hours or 2 hours. And then all of a sudden the topic comes up that I'm interested in and I start info dumping. And then people might either get annoyed because they don't want to hear it, or if it's a situation I've been accused of like mansplaining just because, and it's not that I'm assuming everybody knows nothing about the subject, just because it's a topic that excites me and I want to talk about.
All right. Like I know that I knew more about psychology, but like specifically she was asking how come men do X in relationships. She was specifically asking that. And I actually thought, well, I'm a guy. I've been in relationships. Let me give some info, right? So I literally thought I knew more about what she wanted to talk about than she did, right? And not because I'm a guy and she's a girl, but because I'm a guy who's been in a fucking relationship, as well as I could explain it from a more psychological point of view to a degree. But I got maybe 2 sentences in. Like, that's not even enough time to have any idea what the fuck I was actually talking about or trying to explain. But I got 2 sentences in and she immediately puts her hand up and goes, "Stop mansplaining to me." And I went, "What? Help me understand that," because now I got all confused. And I went, what do you mean? I'm not trying to explain something as if like, because I have a penis, like I fucking know something more than you. What are you talking about? And she went on this diatribe all about how men always interject at the wrong times. I was standing there in the whole conversation with everybody else. I had already said other things before that moment, but all of a sudden, and now I know that's an isolated incident, that was her issue in that moment.
It could be because she felt like you were dismissing your feelings because you were trying to get scientific.
And yet I said, I started with, I might have an idea of why in the hell that's going on.
Maybe she didn't actually want an answer.
I don't think she actually did. But again, that means
she wanted to just complain about men.
Mansplaining issue.
She just wanted to complain about dating.
Yeah, she wanted to bitch. More specifically, her and her husband earlier that day, and I didn't have this context at the time.
A lot of times people ask rhetorical questions they don't actually want answers to. They just want to complain.
Okay, this is for all non-autistic people who listen to this podcast, which is probably, 2 or 3 of you. When you ask a rhetorical question, please remember there are autistic people in this world, and we're probably going to answer that fucking question. So maybe you might want to say things like,
she didn't want an answer. She just wanted to complain about her husband.
She did. She really did. She had a fight with him earlier that day, which I didn't know about.
But then she took it out on you because you were being insensitive.
Yes, because he has a penis, I have a penis. Clearly,
no, you're being insensitive because instead of just being like, "Yes, queen, let her bitch," you were like, "Well, actually," and then they're like, "Oh, you fucking man, shut up."
Yeah. Well, it also didn't help that we were all drinking too.
I get it.
Because then that turned into this bigger fucking thing that took like a
I
week
just got
and a half
into
for her to be like,
an argument the other day because I was talking about data instead of focusing on how someone felt. So because they were talking about something and I was asking a question about it.
And you gave them a bunch of statistics and shit from research or whatnot.
Yeah, and they're like, said I was being an asshole, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
There. So you were talking to your partner then?
No, it was somebody else. No, it was somebody online.
Oh, because that's happened so often.
I was on a message board, and they brought up the statistic, and I looked it up.
Yeah. Oh, God, you're talking about that moment.
Yeah, and then I got in trouble. Yeah. And then somebody had to explain to me that I was being insensitive, and I didn't understand why.
Yeah.
And they were, because I was more focused on the stats that they were bringing up, even if the stats were bullshit, than how the person felt. But I was saying, well, they're using a bogus statistic to justify their feelings.
Right, of course not.
So it's like if you were to bring up a statistic about,
they're self-justifying.
if you there's this red pill one that they use, the red pill community, like the pickup artists. They're not pickup artists, but like we've talked about this before.
I know, you got to explain
the red pill, like the whole man. It's kind of like MRA, men's rights activist type people. They talk about like dating.
Why are they called red pill?
Because the whole thing started with an analogy from the Matrix. Like the blue pill, they say the blue pill guys are guys who are beta males who like don't understand how the world really works, and the red pill are like guys who actually understand how things really work.
Oh, because the red pill pulls you out of the Matrix, the blue pill keeps you in it.
And then you have like Andrew Tate who talks about the Matrix and all this.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
here complete side conversation real quick. We'll come back to this whole explaining thing. If you were given that option, I mean this really and honestly, if you were in that moment, let's say all the Matrix shit's actually real. Let's say Andrew Tate's, the only guy who understands reality. If you were in the Matrix and Morpheus offered you that, for one, let's praise Lawrence Fishburne. Awesome job in that movie. But if Lawrence Fishburne came to you and said, blue pill or red pill, which one would you take?
Depends.
What? Like, how is that a fucking answer to what I just asked you?
If I could go into the Matrix and do cool shit, then I'd take the red pill. If I took the
all of them could do cool shit.
If I took the red pill and I had to go live in fucking Zion or whatever with a bunch of sweaty, dirty people in a cave, then I would just rather stay in the Matrix.
That's where I was going with it. So I'm telling you right now, and people can call me a fool for this all they fucking want, but I would every day of the week take the fucking blue pill. If Morpheus showed the fuck up right now in this room.
That's why I had a caveat. If I could go in the Matrix and like do cool shit like Neo, sure, let me do it. But if I had to stay in Zion, because not everybody went and like plugged into the Matrix to do cool shit. A lot of the people just lived in a fucking cave and with dirty people.
But everybody who was allowed to go back to the Matrix could do cool shit in it.
Yeah, that's why I said if I could, then I would.
Oh, so if you were one of their soldier people who,
if I could go in the Matrix and have fun and do cool shit, then I'd take the red pill. Otherwise, I just take the blue pill because I don't want to live in a fucking dirty cave with
I don't.
All the people underground.
Yeah, but don't you want to be free? You know what?
And they dance naked to techno and sweat.
Yes, on each other. Which
Anyway.
Yeah, so I would take the blue pill any day of the week because you know what? I'd rather have it taste like steak.
The red pill.
Imaginary?
Red pill.
Oh, red pill. I'm sorry.
So you don't know anything about red pill stuff. It's fine.
No, I don't. I have no idea.
I forget. You made me forget what I was
I'm
talking
so
about.
sorry, but I had to change
the red pill.
Asking you that. Yes, red pill people and Andrew Tate and...
Yeah, but there was a whole point to the conversation.
Okay, red pill people.
Oh, okay. Bogus statistics. That's
yes, bogus statistics.
So there's a statistic that a lot of people in the manosphere, the red pill people, talk about.
Manosphere?
I don't know where the data comes from. I'd have to look it up. But there's a stat they quote.
Yeah.
Which is similar to the stat that I was reading up, except the stat that these people were talking about was about men. It made men look bad.
Oh, okay.
This stat makes women look bad.
Oh.
It says like something along the lines of like 70 to 90% of divorces are initiated by women. Although it doesn't say the reasons why, because I'm sure there's even if it is 70 to 90% of divorces initiated by women, it doesn't mean that those are unjustified or there's not good reasons for them initiating divorce. But anyway, they use that number to point out, like, oh, well, men can't trust women because they're just going to divorce you and take half your money and all this stuff. So
yeah, but that doesn't.
But I'm saying that's an example of they use a statistic to justify their feelings or their bias against women. So
but people do that.
The instance that I was involved in was these women basically saying how horrible men are, and they used a study to justify that men were horrible.
Right.
And the study was basically the results of the study. It was like 500 people involved in the study, and it was from the early 2000s, and it was showing that men were 6 times more likely to leave their spouse if they got terminally ill than the other way around.
Okay.
So it was, so you had a, well, I think it was something like that, like 60% more likely. So 6 times more likely.
So basically, and I didn't read that research at all. Basically, what it sounds like is of the people that they surveyed that were men and women who stuck with and or left their partners, men just ended up leaving more often.
Right.
To me, that doesn't say anything about the general populace.
But they were saying that men, that means that they were talking about somebody who was had cancer.
Yeah.
And the husband had a mistress or something. So like the woman was really sick. She was dying, and she went and I guess she found the husband found a mistress because he didn't find the wife attractive anymore.
Yeah, or whatever.
He didn't leave her, but he I guess he was upfront with her and told her.
Okay.
And I guess she didn't know how she felt about it.
All right.
But it wasn't her. It was in the comments. People were talking about, well, men are trash and men are this and blah, blah, blah. And then a bunch of people kept listing that study. Right. And I'm like, what is this study they're talking about? Someone looked it up. And then I had to defend myself because I never said like, oh, that like, I actually said in my comment, like, oh, that's really shitty that someone would do that to you and that somebody would do that to their partner. And I was like, but I was curious about the study people keep mentioning. I looked it up and then I pointed out, well, like it's only 500 people. Yeah. And then somebody said, well, that's a good enough sample size for social studies.
It is actually.
And I was like, yeah, but it's one study from data from 20 years ago. And all I said, I didn't even say it was wrong. I just said, I wonder what the results would look like if we had more data. Yes. And if we had newer data. Right. I never said it's wrong. Men aren't shit. I never said like that men aren't shittier or that I was like, maybe men are 2 times more likely or 3 times more likely. Yeah. All I said was I thought 6 times more likely seemed a little high.
And it could be because you're not somebody who would necessarily leave their partner if they got terminally ill. So maybe that number seems
But just me
higher.
Questioning it, they were offended because they thought that I was diminishing their feelings about it. Right. Because questioning the study itself didn't matter. That even though a bunch of them kept referencing it, it was just that how they felt about it.
Right. Well, they already believe men are shit. So when they have information that says men are shit, they immediately go.
And I didn't even say that men aren't worse. I said maybe it's 3 times, 4 times. All I said was the 6 times seemed extreme to me. So that's why I looked it up. I was like, that seems crazy that men would be 6 times more likely to leave their wife.
So here's something I want to point out too. That only said the likelihood a man would leave. Yeah. What about the study on the other side of that is what's the likelihood which one of them, male or female, are most likely to stay?
Well, the women were.
I mean, the thing only said
but
men
there was
are more likely to leave.
There was more information in the study.
Oh, there was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought that's all the study was the likelihood
No,
of leaving.
but the part of it that people kept quoting is that men were 6 times more likely or whatever.
To leave.
Right.
Okay.
Based on this one study from 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, based on old information.
Which I said maybe it's true, but the only part I was questioning was the 6 times. That seemed extremely high.
Well, what country was the study from?
U.S.
Okay, so if they did it in England, Ireland, Germany, Europe, South Africa, Brazil, would the numbers change?
I don't know.
Maybe. We don't know that, but they're magnifying it to all men.
They were upset with me for being fixated on the study instead of like even though I had pointed out like, well, that person's shitty for doing this. Yeah. These guys are shitty for doing
even
this.
Even though you agreed with them, they still
I just said
jumped
that
on your ass.
I thought it was that number seemed really high to me.
Right. And honestly, like that's the unfortunate part is all they saw is that you're a guy and immediately thought you were defending men, even though you weren't defending anyone. No. But they assumed
I was just
their
saying,
own ignorance.
I was just saying the numbers may not be as bad as what it seems.
Right.
I don't think that this is my personal opinion. I don't have any data to back it up because the only data we have is this one study that I found. Right. I don't think it's 6 times more. Maybe men are more likely to leave, but I think 6 seems a little high. 6 times more likely seems a little high.
I agree.
I don't think most men would just leave their wives if they were sick.
Like I said, if you take
and I have anecdotal stories of men who have had wives who had cancer or were sick and didn't leave them.
Me too.
It's anecdotal, but like I said, we have one study from 20 years ago. So.
Right. I mean, I guarantee that if we, and I'm only saying I guarantee just purely out of my own hope to God that it's true. But I'm going to say it again. I guarantee that if we take that exact same study and run that exact same study in an assortment of different countries worldwide, I don't think we're going to have that same number. I think each one of those countries is going to be different because some of that I think is cultural, social conditioning or
I would also think
learning.
It's probably much more likely that both partners might cheat if their partners.
Yes. Hey, did you know
sick.
women are less likely I read this fucking once, by the way. Women are actually less likely to report or acknowledge that they cheated on their partner. Men are actually more likely to report that they cheated on their partner.
Yeah. I mean,
and also the definitions of cheating are very different between men and women.
The definitions of cheating are also different depending on where you live. Because I was reading something about like Europe. In Europe, people, a lot of things that Americans see as cheating is not considered cheating over there.
In most of the rest of the world,
like if you are at a wedding and you're there with your boyfriend, right? And you're the girlfriend and you go and dance with some guys, maybe you're grinding on them, whatever. A lot of guys in America might not be comfortable with that. Right. Whereas Europe, they don't give a shit.
No, don't give a shit.
Most countries in Europe, they're more loose when it comes to that kind of stuff.
You know, in France, to the best of my knowledge, and I'm pretty ignorant about most other cultures, in France, they kiss each other on the cheeks.
Yeah.
Like in this country, if a dude kissed a woman on the cheek, the other guy's going to be a little jealous about it.
Yeah, I think we're a little more prudish with that kind of stuff, or a little more jealous.
We really uptight about fucking affection.
But also,
we really are.
And this I think this is changing with the younger generations. But men and women usually cheat for different reasons.
You think it's for different reasons?
I think that
because I think it's for the exact same reason both times. I feel it as it is.
I think that the younger generations, that women are much more likely to just have an affair just for sex. So whereas men...
Say that again for me.
I'm saying
that I misheard you.
Younger generations of women.
Yes.
Like Gen Z, millennials.
Yeah.
Are much more likely to just have casual sex or cheating without having a strong emotional bond.
Okay.
Whereas typically in the past, when women cheated on their spouses, it was more because they weren't receiving some type of emotional need. They were being like, they felt like they weren't being. So the stereotype is couples in a relationship, man goes off in the military, she's by herself, she feels neglected, she goes and sleeps with somebody else. Because she feels like she's not carrying that need net. And not necessarily sleeping, but she wants a connection with somebody else. Right. Now you could say, well, sex is a connection. Yes, but a lot of times men will cheat just for the physical aspect of it, and they don't necessarily care about the emotional connection. So I don't see, I actually believe this. And I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I have no fucking clue if I'm right or wrong. I've never but like I was saying, couples all that much. I think younger women will. What? I said, but I was saying is that I think younger women are much more likely to just have a fling without the emotional connection because society has changed when it comes to sex. So like younger women feel much more comfortable just having casual sex. I think outside of relationships, that's exactly true. I feel, and this is just my opinion, not truly based on like a research fucking read or none of that shit or asking thousands of people or anything like that. Just from what I've observed and from what I know from anecdotal stories of talking to people and reading about it. I really believe that both men and women cheat for the exact same reason. I think that all of the other things that we say around it are our observations of why. I think men and women cheat for the same reason, and it's needs met. But I'm not saying it's the other person's fault at all. I'm saying it's their fault. The person who cheated, it's their fault internally. They do not feel loved and accepted by themselves, let alone their partner. So even if their partner is the best fucking person in the world, because they already have a lack in insecurity, a lack of self-worth, if you will, a lack of feeling whole in themselves, they have to go get the validation externally. And I don't think a partner can give them that level of validation, that level of acceptance on their own. But sometimes people just want to have sex with other people. I don't think that is true. I think that's plenty true. There's lots of poly couples who have sex because they don't want to just have sex with one person. They want to be able to have sex with other people. So they go into a relationship knowing that they're going to be okay with that because they don't want to have to cheat. So I'm not saying this for all poly people because I can't speak for them, but I know for the couple of people that I know that are in poly relationships, it's sorry, I didn't mean poly. I meant open relationships. Sorry. So I'm going to say the same thing. Because I'm talking about people who don't have a poly couple where they have multiple people in the relationship. The relationship is fucking swingers? Kind of, but not exactly. Yes. Okay. So like I know this couple who is a man and a woman, and they're married, but they're both allowed to sleep with other people. But we're talking about cheating. We're not talking about agreements in a relationship of right. But you were saying that you thought that they were cheating because their needs aren't met. Yes. I'm saying sometimes people just want to have sex with other people.
But I think there's a perceptual and a definitional difference between having an open relationship where both of you identify that it's cool to hang out with other folk.
But that desire is still there to have sex with other people.
But they're already getting their needs met emotionally, though.
Right.
And they're fucking other people. I'm talking about
because they married each other,
Steve.
saying, "Hey, it's okay if we sleep."
Yeah, but I'm talking about in cheating scenarios.
Right.
I'm talking about
some of those people
being in the agreement of a monogamous relationship, and then somebody goes out and cheats.
Right.
Plus, I'm talking about from people that I know who have cheated on their spouses or their partners, and I've talked to them about it. From reading some stuff, okay, not necessarily research papers, but just people's stories and shit. A lot of the times they say my partner cheated on me because they wanted a younger model or because their partner was an asshole or something. But while I'm talking to them or while I'm reading it, it makes more sense that they're talking about how they themselves did not feel satisfied in the relationship. So when it comes to an open relationship, you're making an agreement with the other person you're involved with that y'all can go fuck other people.
Yeah.
And so I
only brought that up as an example of people wanting to have sex with outside of their relationship. So I'm saying if the desire is there when they have the agreement, maybe the desire is also there even if they don't have the agreement. If the guy goes into a relationship and agrees to be monogamous, but he actually does want to sleep with other people, but he breaks, maybe he's tempted and he ends up doing it, that doesn't necessarily mean that his emotional needs, maybe it's his sexual needs aren't being met, but maybe his sexual needs are he wants to be able to sleep with other people.
Yeah, but maybe his sexual needs are being motivated by a internal desire to have people like him.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I also
I don't think the reasons are always super deep. I think sometimes it's just they want to fucking spread their seed around.
You know what? If you're 21 and you're a single human being and you fuck 1,000 people in a week, I agree to that statement. But I also think that there is something internally motivating you to want to sleep with that many more people.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that there's more to it than just I want to fuck. And anytime I talk to somebody about sex, about their sex life, about all the partners they've had, why did they end up having a single partner eventually? It always comes down to that they were seeking some level of validation.
I'm not saying that they
were seeking some level of affection.
I'm not saying that that's not a good majority of it. I'm just saying that I think that that's not all the case.
I didn't say everybody. Like, at what point
you said that that's based on your experience, and all I was saying is that I think that sometimes people just want to have sex.
Right, but that's why I said based on what I know, not based on like some research fucking shit, not based on like having 1,000 conversations with people. I have a very limited experience in life. I've been alive for 42 years, and maybe I've met a couple 100,000 people, but I haven't talked about their sex lives.
Nicholas. So we got way off topic.
We really fucking did. Well, kind of.
I want to
tie all this together.
We're going about an hour and 30 here. I just want to wrap things up. So,
hour 30, 3 hours, whatever. You know what? If Joe Rogan can have a conversation for 3 hours, why can't we?
Because we're not as interesting.
That is absolutely true.
Okay. If I started doing MMA and eating nothing but elk meat, then we can have a 3 hour long podcast.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to go start hunting elk.
Yes.
And I'll make you some elk steaks, and then we can do 3 hours.
And I do my karate twice a week. So look,
you do the karate, I'll do the elk meat.
Yeah, that's right.
Then we can sell Athletic Greens.
Athletic Greens?
That's a product that he endorses ours.
Right. All right.
AG1.
By the way, we're not making fun of Joe Rogan by any means whatsoever. This dude actually likes your show quite a bit, and your show's too long for me to actually
even though he has guests that people don't like sometimes.
That's okay, though. You know what? All conversation needs to be had.
I'm down for talking to people that I don't agree with.
Me too.
Anyway,
yes.
So it's been a wonderful show. We taled about public displays of affection. We talked about RADs, radiation, and we talked about being rejected, which Nick knows a lot about.
I do, actually.
He still gets rejected to this day.
I actually, and I don't know if this is good or bad, psychologically speaking, but I actually try to set myself up in my head with an expectation of I will be rejected up front. And it actually, for me at least, it makes way more sense. And it allows me to deal with a lot of situations that I normally would try to avoid because of the worry of people liking me or not. I immediately just say everybody's not going to like me to begin with. And it's so much easier to deal with.
It is.
That's me.
So hot in here.
It is so hot in here.
I'm sweating. All right.
Me too.
So it's a great show.
I thought so.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week. We have some great guests coming up soon.
Yes, we do.
Some exciting guests. We're not going to tell you now.
No,
It'll
we're
be a
not?
surprise.
Ooh. If you liked what we said today, if you didn't like what we said today, if you've got comments, questions, or if you think Steve is sexist, please leave a comment. Please interact with us on any social media service, because I do want to reiterate, you are actually talking to me or Steve. So put it out there, talk to us, let us know what's going on. And I feel, last thing I'm going to say. Last thing, I promise is the last thing I'm going to fucking say.
Jesus Christ.
I want to point out that Steve actually did set up our website, and he is the one who is writing the blog. Please go and read it. Please respond with him. Talk with him. It's his point of view, and please go and check it out. Thank you.
All right. I'll probably have another post up this week. I have an
Yes.
idea. I just haven't actually had time to sit down and write it yet.
I want to make sure we're advertising it, because it is your fucking thing, man.
Okay. I'll put a link to the blog in the description of the episode. All right.
All right. Thank
See
you
you
very
next
much.
week. Bye.
Bye.